everyone, I'm Mind, and this is set number 10327, Dune Atreides Royal Ornithopter from the LEGO Icons theme. This set contains 1,369 pieces, 8 minifigures, and will retail for $164.99 in the US. This set was gifted to me for review by the LEGO group through the LEGO Ambassador Network, but all opinions expressed in this video are my own. So here is the full build of the Ornithopter, and you can see this thing is absolutely massive, and a large part of that is the wingspan. We'll take a look up closer in a moment, but I believe these wings are the second biggest LEGO piece ever created, the first being like the LEGO City plane body, so it makes this set very, very unique looking. Now this is actually one of the sets that I got to see early when I visited Denmark as a part of LEGO's RLFM days. The designers revealed this set to us and we got to interview them, and it was a super cool experience, but at that time I had actually not seen Dune yet. I have watched it now in preparation for this review, but even having not seen Dune, I was really impressed by this model. It reminds me a lot of the LEGO Horizon Zero Dawn tall neck that came out a few years ago. That's a game I've never played just because I've never owned a console to play it, but it ended up being my favorite set of the year just because of how well designed it was. And while I don't think I like this as much as that one, I think it's a very similar case where it's an amazing design, a super unique set, and even if you don't care about the IP, there's a lot to enjoy here, but if you do like the IP, there's even more to love. So now let's move up a little bit closer and go through all of it. Starting on the front of the Ornithopter, they use the new trans black color for the windshields. If you're not familiar, the color that we used to call trans black in the past was actually like trans dark brown. And the only real difference is that was black with more of a red tone to it. This is more of a cooler black with a more blue tone to it. And I have to say, this looks really, really sleek, very elegant. I absolutely love it on this build. They use like these giant windshield pieces, but I think the gray pieces frame them really nicely. This part can flip up and move it out of the way so you can see it a little bit better, but when you have it down, it feels like one cohesive build. Now these windshields do flip up on each side so you can access the interior, and inside of the Ornithopter, there's 2 seats as well as like a little control panel. Now you can definitely fit minifigures in from the side right here, however, it might be a little bit awkward to pose them, but the designers actually thought about that because the entire seating area is removable. So you can just pop this off super easily, take it out, and then attach the minifigures while the seat's separate from the build. This just makes it much more convenient to like slide in and out. And there we go, I could slide them back in here just like this, attach the seats right back down on the studs, and then close cockpit back up, and now we actually have the minifigures piloting the Ornithopter, which looks really nice. Inside of the build there is a printed console piece. It's not new or anything, it's just one of LEGO's generic ones, and then there's 2 handlebars which can be moved up and down, so if you want to put that into a minifigure's hand, you can. These graphics on the side of the vehicle, by the way, are prints, they're not stickers. In fact, there's no stickers in the entire set. That makes me very happy to see. I mean, there's not really any other graphics besides those in the set, but I appreciate that the few that are there are printed. It just makes the build feel extra premium. There's a little bit of landing gear at the front, and that actually can retract. We'll take a look at that in a moment. But here's a look at it up close. It does look very cool. Nice combination of like Technic and system parts. It feels mechanical, but doesn't feel out of place. I like it a lot. And then there's also a bunch of lights at the front which have a little bit of a turn to them, but really not all too much. That motion's not the biggest deal, but hey, I mean, it's still appreciated. And now we come along to the sides of the build, and I'll admit, this is a little ugly. Some people will really not like how this looks, other people won't mind it as much, but I do admit, it's far from the prettiest LEGO build I've ever seen. There's a ton of exposed Technic holes. In fact, there's an entire hole through the ship. There's lots of weird colors in here. There's orange, there's red, there's yellow. So I know there's some collectors who this will really bother and you just will not want to get the set at all. However, I think the transformation feature in this set absolutely makes up for that, because these wings have motion to them and it is so much fun, and it's genuinely one of the most impressive things I've seen in a LEGO build. Like, I can't properly express this in a review, but the building experience for this was genuinely so unique. Like, I build a lot of LEGO sets considering I do this channel, and it's been a long time since I built something I've been like, wow, I don't know if I did that right, I hope this works. But that was absolutely the case with this build. There's just so much going on, so many intricate little parts in here, and the end result is so satisfying. Genuinely just such a fun process to put together. So yes, while the end result isn't the prettiest, it is for the service of the play feature, and I think that is more than worth it. So if you want a really unique building experience that like challenges you a little bit, this would be a set I highly recommend for that. Because yeah, I haven't put together a system like this in a very long time, if ever, but it was a ton of fun to do. I guess I will attempt to show you the play feature real quick. I'll do it again later in the video when we have more space. But of course it has to do with these giant wings on the sides. So there's this little notch on the back right here, and if I flip it forward, the wings actually flip outwards. There you go. And that's the Ornithopter fully transformed. But wait, that's not even everything. You could also push down on this black part of the back and that'll make the wings flap to sort of simulate how it looks when it's taking off in the movie. So very, very cool. I absolutely love that. Speaking of the wings, let's take a more up-close look at those wing pieces, because yeah, they're gigantic and you get 8 of them in this set. Now, they are very clearly based off the wings of these vehicles in the movie. However, when I was talking to the designers, they said they tried to make them somewhat generic so they could be reused for other builds. They said, like, for example, it could be used for a big mech in another LEGO theme, which that would have to be a very, very big mech to have a blade this big, but that's something I would love to see in the future. But yeah, I think they work perfectly. They're very clearly like grasshopper-like wings, but I also feel like they don't feel out of place just in the LEGO family. It doesn't feel like this needs needs to be a Dune-specific part. And if you're a mock builder, yeah, you get 8 in this set, so there's a lot of possibilities there. Here's an up-close look at the notch at the back that you move to open the wings up. That's it when it's transformed. And this, like, black stripes what you press down on to make the wings flap. This part of the build right here is honestly probably the only part I don't like. Like, while the main body can be a little ugly in some places, that makes up for it in the play feature. But this, I feel like they definitely could have covered up a little bit more. They covered up a bit of it right here and a bit of it right here, but for some reason they leave this section open. And yeah, the blue is really ugly, the holes just don't look great. So I would have preferred if they did a bit more there, but if you have your own parts from your own collection, that probably wouldn't be too difficult to modify. Just something I wanted to point out. Back here, we also have the rest of the landing gear, including this platform to get in and out of the ship. This part I like the design of, especially like the classic Lego phone piece right here. That's a very fun touch. And then this I appreciate being here. It's great for display because you can have characters like walking on and off of it to represent them like getting in and out of the Ornithopter. The thing is, that is entirely up to your own imagination though, because there is no interior in the body of this thing, which I know will disappoint some people, but of course they had to fit this entire like machine in here, so they wouldn't really be able to have interior space and have the wings do all the things they can. So I get why we don't have any. It would have been nice to see, but I think it's literally impossible at this scale. If you want these wings to be as effective as they are, you need the Technic to be going all throughout the body. So I get it. Here's a little peek inside though at what that comes out of. Now to retract the landing gear, you spin these pieces on the side. These sort of like rocket-based pieces. There's one on each side, you can do either of them. And yeah, if you just turn counterclockwise, the entire thing can just fold up. Just like that, and then it goes flat on the ground. So if you want to have the Ornithopter in flight mode, you could do that. And finally, we come to the tail of the back, and I mean, I think this looks nice. There is a bit of obvious yellow at the back, which that's not great, but it's a very small thing in the entire build, and again, not too difficult to customize if you wanted to. However, one thing I very much appreciate about this build is the fact that it's so massive, but they built it so it's able to be held by the tail. So you can see it picking up by the very back, but it's not like falling apart or anything. I can move this around. That just makes it a lot more fun for play and shows the entire stability of this thing. Very much appreciate that. That's super cool. I guess on the topic of stability, most of this build is pretty stable. I will say some of the cockpit of the front is pretty easy to accidentally knock off if you're like constantly moving this around and playing with it, but it's not as bad as some other like 18 plus sets I've seen. It definitely is made to be able to be moved around, which is something I appreciate. So honestly, my biggest criticism of this set is the looks. Which sounds like a lot, but honestly to me, it's not that big of a deal in the case of this set, because it looks good enough in my opinion. I think the front's really pretty, the back's very pretty, the middle section gets a little bit ugly in some places, but that is entirely made up for by that play feature. And it's a very necessary play feature too, right? It's not just something they shoehorned in. No, this build would feel incomplete without it, and it makes it feel extra special that it's here. And I don't want to act like it looks bad by any means either. There's a few awkward parts, but overall I do think it looks really good. And aside from the bright colors in a few places, it is very representative of the vehicle in the movie. So I have to say, all around, I'm fairly happy with it. And now, before we move on to the minifigures, here's something you normally don't see in the reviews. Me. Because before moving on, I wanted to give you a proper sense for this thing, like, actually in hand, because I feel like the Lightbox doesn't do it justice. This thing is absolutely massive, and it barely fits in there in the first place, so I just wanted to show you what it's like in hand, because it's so, like, fun to swoosh around, move around. It's absolutely massive. But the fact that I can just grab it by the tail right here and be able to do all this with it is so much fun. And it's also really fun to sort of try to adjust the wings of the fly like happens in the movies. Like, I'm flapping like this, and then I take this and I pull back on it, move the wings down, it dives down, jump back up, pull it up. Like, genuinely, there's a ton of fun to be had with this, which is really impressive for a set like this. Genuinely, I love it so much. It's a great toy. That being said, it is based off a PG-13 movie, and it's $165, so I don't know how many kids are buying this to actually play with it. But you know what? I'm playing with it, so I guess that's something. So I'll talk about this more at the end of the video after I go over the minifigures. But I think if you're someone who mainly buys for display and you don't like touching your sets at all, this may not be the best set for you. But if you're someone who really wants something you could play around with a little bit and like actually have fun with, I think this is a great set for that. But of course, yeah, I've not covered everything in the set just yet, so now let's take a look at the minifigures, and then I'll give you my overall thoughts. Here are the first two minifigures in this set. We have Paul Atreides and Lady Jessica. Paul uses the Clone Wars Anakin / original Lloyd hairpiece, and I think it does fit him pretty well. Now, he does have an all-new face print in this set, and in fact, every character in this set has an all-new face print, which that is very cool to see, and I think they capture the actor's likeness well enough. The cheekbones are very defined here, which yes, he does have defined cheekbones. I don't know if this was the best way to do it, because especially on this side, he does seem a lot older than he actually is, but all things considered, I think it's fine. Definitely a good face print to have. There's no leg printing, but the torso design's nice. It's elegant and representative of the movie. Fun fact about this, another thing I learned during my interview, is the designers weren't sure what color to make this, because in the movie it's somewhat green, but it's also somewhat black, and they're back and forth between the two. But they actually went and reread the original book that the Dune movie's based on, and in the book it's described as a dark green, so they decided to make the minifigure dark green, so that way it's both accurate to the book and to the movie. I think that's a really fun touch that they like tapped into both sources there, and I think the final minifigure does look really good. Now Lady Jessica, this is an interesting choice, because she's obviously a very important character Ornithopter in the movie, but having seen the movie, this wouldn't be the outfit I chose for her. It's probably the coolest looking outfit for sure, but it's one that she doesn't really wear for much of the movie, so I'm not sure if it was the best choice. It certainly looks very cool because all the pieces are gold and there's even gold printing on top of the gold parts, which I always love to see that. It looks very elegant. And the one side of her face has like the gold lacing dripping over it, but the alternate side's just a somewhat neutral expression, a pretty good one though, and there's just a little bit of detail around the back of the dress. She does also come with an alternate hairpiece in the set, just a generic ponytail, which I think is perfectly fine, nothing too crazy, but it's appreciated at the very least. So yeah, it wouldn't have been my pick for which version of her to do, but it does look very cool to say the least, so I'm overall happy with it. Here are the next two minifigures in the set. We have Duncan, Idaho, and we have Gurney Halleck, and I think Duncan especially is a very, very cool minifigure. He uses one of the newer skin tones, which that's always nice to get. It's becoming more common as of recent, but obviously because it's a newer skin tone introduced, it has way less minifigures than other skin tones, so it's always good to diversify that and just get more. So I appreciate seeing that here. He uses the Tiana hairpiece in the Disney 100 minifigure series, which that's a very specialized hairpiece, but you know what, kind of fits him perfectly. So I kind of love getting that here because I think that's the first time that hairpiece has been reused. But because it's a Lego Disney hairpiece, it also has a hole in the top of the head, so you can attach an accessory there if you want. Kind of funny for a character like this, but you know what, I'll take it. Still a very cool one. And then yeah, he's sort of wearing the casual training clothes that they wear in the movie. Forgive me, I don't know the name of all the outfits, but multiple characters wear something similar to this in the movie, so it's cool to see a different outfit represented here. Another new face print on him too. On one side it's angry, the other side it's happy. I think they capture this character really well. Like, his likeness is very clear. Incredibly happy with it. And then Gurney's in like the House Atreides battle armor. Again, I don't know the official name for that, but this is another outfit that like multiple characters did wear in the movie, but he's the character they chose to give it to in the set. Which I think that's kind of cool, because if you're just buying the set, okay cool, you get one of this armor. But if you want to put more characters in this armor, you can, by buying multiple copies off a Bricklink or whatever. That option is out there. But yeah, there's a really smooth transition from the armor piece into the torso, and in fact you can hardly notice it. But the armor piece also has two studs around the back if you want to attach something there. Face printing's got a nice smile with a great beard, and turning him around he does have an alternate face with a slight smirk. I would have liked maybe an angry expression on one side because both these expressions are somewhat happy, but I suppose it's fine for what we get. And there's a full look of the torso print with the armor removed. You can see there's lots of this metallic silver armor, which is really nice looking, but of course I think he looks best with the armor on. It's a very nice, very appreciated minifigure to get. I'm honestly quite happy with both of these. Then the next three minifigures in the set actually share the exact same torso and leg prints, and that's Duke Leto Atreides, Dr. Liet Kynes, and then one more, which we'll see in a moment. But yeah, these minifigures are all, of course, wearing their still suits, which are probably the most iconic appearances of the characters from the movie. And this is another one where, like, yeah, only 3 of the characters wear it, but if we were to get extra copies of the minifigures, or we just want to swap their heads around, you very easily could put other characters in these still suits. So I'm in two minds about that. On the one hand, it would have been cool to get them all in their still suits from the beginning, but on the other hand, I do appreciate getting different versions, and you sort of get to choose. Which characters do you want in the still suits, which characters do you want out of it? I mean, 2 of these need to be in the still suits, but Duke Leto didn't need to be necessarily. There was multiple other outfits they could have chosen for him. But anyway, the actual still suits do look really good. Gunmetal Gray is the main color with just silver detailing, and it's very subtle but looks quite nice, very representative of the actual suits from the movie. They really did go all out with these designs though, like there's so much detail from top to bottom. There's how it looks around the back too. And then this minifigure also uses one of the new skin tones, and once again an all new face print, and the alternate face is angry, which is nice to see. This I feel like is a very useful one. Just a black beard with a happy and angry expression. I think it captures the actor from the movie, and I think it's also good for your own custom creations. And then Dr. Liet Kynes, of course, as I said, has the exact same torso and legs, so I won't go over those again. But she does have a headpiece, a hairpiece, and a cape piece that differ, as well as her accessories. She's of course got their striking blue eyes, which of course, yeah, this character wouldn't make sense without them. And very nice hairpiece all around. I actually don't know if this one's new, it might be, but it does look really, really good. I love the texture on it. And then the cape piece, interestingly, is actually not new. I mean, it's a new color for it, but this is actually Mateo's cape piece from LEGO Dreams, just recolored to dark tan. It's cool to see they got another use out of that, like, shape, and I think it fits the character well. And then, yeah, you can see the alternate side, she's got her mask up, which that's a variant that makes a lot of sense. Happy it's included here. And then Zendaya here, I mean, Chani, again, uses that exact same torso and leg piece, but she also has an all-new face piece. She uses the LEGO Ninjago movie scarf piece of dark tan, which I believe that's an all-new color too, and then just the standard LEGO ponytail piece. In terms of her accessory, she carries a Chris knife, which is just a white recolor of a sword we've gotten before in LEGO, but still very nice that that's included. Definitely shows that the designers cared a lot. And the face print I think is good. Again, those striking blue eyes, immediately obvious, and then the alternate face has the mask. But yeah, I think they represent her well. I'm all around happy with this one. And then the final minifigure in the set is Baron Harkonnen, which is one of the weirdest minifigures I've ever seen. He's got this extremely long cape piece, which, yeah, if you've seen the movie, is very accurate, but it's just so different to what we've come to expect from LEGO. But yeah, that's just a really big cloth piece. In fact, I'll remove it so you guys can see it a little bit better. And it does just fold around his neck like a standard LEGO cape piece. With it removed though, you can see he's just on this trans-clear platform, and the minifigure itself is mostly unprinted. Of course, he does have a face print, and that is once again all new for this set. It's very similar to a character from the Andor set, because that character is played by the same actor, but this is actually a different face, because that character was not bald, this one is, so that one had a double-sided face and this one could not. So I do think the face is slightly different, but it is very similar to that one. So all around, one of the most ridiculous LEGO minifigures we've ever gotten, but still one I really, really like. And so, overall, what are my thoughts on this set? This is a weird case where, even though it's an 18+ set, I do think that this is a set that's better for play than display. But I want to be clear, I don't mean that it's bad for display. It still does look quite cool, but on a purely display standpoint, it's not as nice looking as some other 18+ sets. And at least for me personally, I do not mind. I think the play feature more than makes up for it. I mean, you saw how much fun I was having just flying that thing around. But for some people, that might be a bigger issue, so I guess it entirely depends on your preferences and tastes. I will say there's clearly a lot of care put into this set. The minifigure selection is absolutely fantastic, like really good representation of the movie, and the build is genuinely really well done. If you're looking for a fun building experience, this is one I recommend. If you're looking for a fun set to play with, this is one I recommend. And if you're a huge fan of the movie, this is a set I recommend. But if you just want something that looks nice on the shelf, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily not recommend this, but there probably would be other things I'd recommend over it. And then, of course, there's one thing I haven't talked about yet, and that is the price. And the price on this one, I don't know. It's fine, I guess. $165 for 1,300 pieces sounds like a lot, but then when you consider everything you get here, it's not as bad as it sounds. For one, there's 8 all-new exclusive minifigures with new face prints, with new torso prints, and yeah, some of those torsos are shared, but they are still new, so that definitely brings the value up a little bit. And then also, you gotta keep in mind, like, the size of some of the pieces in the set. Like, those wing pieces alone are massive. So even though the actual piece count's not as high as maybe some other sets in the same price range, the actual quantity and quality of what you get here maybe makes the price a little bit more worth it. That's, of course, entirely up to you to decide, but I will say the price isn't as bad as it initially seems. So as always, this is not going to be a set for everybody, but as I mentioned, if you're a fan of the movie, you like really complex and fun builds, or you like really fun play features, you're the people I'd recommend the set to the most. But if you're not one of those people, the set's still something I look into, however, it may be easier to pass up on. At least personally though, I love this set. It's already in my top of the year, though it is only January. We'll see where we're at in December. But those are just my thoughts. Now it's your turn. Let me know what you guys think of this set in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!